I'm gonna got you on now. Okay.
All right, so this is how we're going to set you up for time lapses using the NightCap app.
Okay.
An app that's only good for iPhones.
Okay.
Sorry, Android users. So we're going to open up the app.
Yeah.
And we have options here.
Yeah.
Camera setting, time lapse, which is what I'm going to show you, and then the live video mode. I've not had a huge amount of success with the live video, but we're just going to toggle back to the time lapse.
Okay.
So then we go down here, hit the star symbol, and this is where we get our options for the time lapses. What we can do is we can change the time lapse speed, and very often I'm somewhere between 180 times to 300 times, and you can see that it tells you also how long your exposures are going to be.
Okay.
So at 300 times, and this is what I used extensively on my other phone, which is an iPhone 11 Pro.
Okay.
That's this guy here.
Okay.
This is a 12 Pro Max that we're doing the demo on. It's got a slightly better camera. So nowadays I can shorten my time exposures because the camera is better. It's more sensitive.
Okay.
Even though I'm boosting it with the app, I've got my preferences. But typically I would run it 300 times, 10-second exposures. And this is good for a mild, run-of-the-mill Aurora night.
You don't want to use this on a spectacular?
On a spectacular one, you'll probably have to dial it back somewhere in the 120 or 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 6 seconds.
Good to know.
Somewhere in there, for like what we've seen recently.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I always do is I want to always shoot in 4K.
Okay.
I just like the quality better, so I always toggle that. These two settings here, the moon night setting,
Yeah.
and the other one is the star symbol, and this is really just to get the screen brighter.
Okay.
So it's easier to work with.
Okay.
And so it just records brighter. It's not that the camera's more sensitive, it's just displaying brighter. So that's really more for ergonomics as you're working through. Then you've got a couple of options at the top here, long exposure or light trails. And in the time lapse, I actually like to do the light trails. And what this does is if you have an airplane or if you have a satellite pass through your field, it gives it a little tiny bit of a streak, and it's more obvious that you've got a moving object in your field of view. So it's quite nice. It just handles which pixels are turned on differently. So it doesn't look like a little point of light. It's moving like a little streak of light. It still looks mostly like a point because these things are moving slowly across your field of view, even aircraft, which are relatively rapid. But I like the effect that the light trails does.
Okay.
Then, once you've got all that set up, you touch on the left-hand side. That's where your ISO setting is.
Okay.
And I usually run on bright shows, maybe 3,000. The top limit on my old iPhone 11 Pro was 12,500. This will go to 32,000 ISO,
Okay.
but it gets a little grainier when you get that high boost. So you typically don't want to be quite at your max unless it's a very faint Aurora show you're trying to capture.
Okay.
The other thing you have to worry about, I'm just going to close this window here, is your focus. And the focus is at the bottom.
Okay.
And for the most part, it's not a big deal, but you want to make sure it's at 100, which is focused at infinity.
Okay.
And then, when you're ready to go, you just you prop this up,
Okay.
steady, and then hit the button
Let it go.
and let it go.
Just leave it until you want to move to a different part of the sky, or
Yeah. So we're recording
if you
here.
Stop.
So in the top here, it's telling you what the ISO is. Right now it's telling me that because it's in the room, it set itself down to very low ISO.
Okay.
Exposure is some fraction of a second. Focus at 100. And this is the reading of how long your video now is. So it's 0.19 seconds right now,
Okay.
even though we've been running for a while.
Yeah. Okay.
So
And
when
that's
you got
all I
really
need.
rapid action here,
Yeah.
this time setting
see
that I
that.
chose is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
So that's how you get your
And just
your
stop